David Lonco says, Johnny Cash helped me get out of prison long before Rodriguez stole that goat.
Ooh,
He references all these singers in it.
It might have been.
I wonder if that's because he's the kind of guy that would have heard of someone like that, you know?
It's on. You can rent it on Apple TV. There's no.
Okay.
It's not streaming. It's on YouTube and.
Searching for Sugar Man.
Yeah, like I'll see if I can pull up the trailer. I try to get what's his name from comes on the show all the time.
So,
Is he coming in here?
yeah, I mean, it's gonna go live in 5 minutes. Or there's a
Countdown.
countdown right now.
Okay.
Play around. I told her to play around because it's gonna be on the next round stream. Y'all play around and be like, hey, since the guys were gone, we decided to steal their stream. You know,
Okay.
kinda play it off. Let's
Okay.
have fun with it.
I can do that.
I wonder how long it'll be before they notice it or something.
Yeah.
Kid around with it.
I can do that.
They're all gonna treat it. They started the countdown that way. There's a link to it. And you
Hey, look at me. I'm sitting in Ryan Brown's seat.
Okay, here's the trailer.
Smells like socks.
I just think.
Whenever there is an intriguing mystery around a pop artist, it is around the artist known as Rodriguez. We thought he was like the inner city poet.
All right.
He was this wandering spirit around the city. He's like a black man prophet. How many records do you think he sold in America? In America, 6. Money in the travel scene. But it's still a bit of a mystery how the first copy of Cold Flame actually came to South Africa, but it spread very quickly. To many of us South Africans, he was the soundtrack to our lives. Everybody I knew had his records. The message it had was be anti-establishment. Really, the first proposition.
Alrighty.
Hey.
Hey, we're in a new setup.
When the bosses are away, look who takes over, sitting in luxury.
It had to happen.
This chair smells a little like Saks, Alabama. I don't know why, but it does. Nice digs we've got here.
I know. This
partner.
is episode 7, and we've already improved. We had to make a little bit of a change. the 12 stays behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to move into this space.
Yeah, so next round guys are away. They are in Nashville, and, you know, we're kind of running amok here.
Yeah.
And
Think of
Nick's
this
taking over the asylum.
as the 4th hour,
Yeah.
if you will,
Yeah.
a special edition, because you guys are always saying you want more baseball. We decided to solve the problem.
Yes, we did.
So awesome.
So what a weekend, Memorial Day weekend. We end up going live on Twitter, a little emergency show. When I say emergency, I didn't say panic button show. I just said emergency. There's a
fine line.
There is a fine line there. So people still acclimating to the news. We're still acclimating to the news about Ronald Acuña Jr. being out for the season. Great opportunity with Austin Riley, Sean Murphy back to be like, this team's going to come together.
It's going to be awesome.
Or they're going to lose game 1 to the Nationals.
Right, right.
I actually had a pretty good comeback going into that game.
Yeah.
But, you know, a little too late and could not seal the deal. It's a 4-game series, but dropping game 1 after that would have been cool to just like see
Make
those,
a statement.
Yeah.
Make a statement. Well, we have a lot to get to today. Obviously, we're going to talk about Acuña. We're going to talk about what that new outfield situation looks like, the what-ifs surrounding Ronald Acuña Jr. as a player, Riley and Murphy coming back, the 5th spot in rotation, the breaking news today. So the Wednesday starter has officially been named. We've got Spencer Schwellenbach called up from Gwinnett.
Wait, Spencer's back?
Not that Spencer.
Oh.
It is Spencer S., but
Yeah.
not the Spencer S. that we want.
So tell me about this
Okay,
guy.
Spencer Schwellenbach. I did have to do a little research. I'm not sure if you guys were familiar with him from Gwinnett, but he's not yet on the 40-man roster, so they're working on that today. 6'1", 200 pounds, righty. He has a 1.80 ERA through 8 games.
Okay.
And one thing that stuck out to me was his 57.5% ground ball rate. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It is important. So he's had 8 starts, and out of those 8 starts, 6 of those starts has been at high A. So what that means is that he's an older guy and he's been pitching against less experienced players. However, it's still significant that his ERA is what it is, as well as that ground ball rate. So there's rumors that this could be the 5th spot answer.
Yeah. I love what you threw in there about the ground ball rate. Typically, a good ground ball pitcher is an efficient pitcher that can go deep into games. And that means he's not someone that's going to tax your bullpen, which,
Right.
as we've seen, has been a problem in that 5th spot.
We definitely need that. Some other breaking news, and this kind of went under the radar for me at least. Ohtani is actually hurt. He has a left hamstring contusion. That has not really been the story. We've all seen it's about Ronald Acuña Jr., and that just adds to what baseball does not need right now.
Yeah. The Dodgers seem just like such a class above in that division.
For sure.
I guess because they are. When Buster Olney was on the next round last week, he still listed the Braves as one of those elite teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is before the Acuna injury. This is before the series in Pittsburgh.
For sure.
And obviously before yesterday's game as well. A little perspective in looking at standings. So if you look at the Dodgers, they're at 33 and 22. The Giants are 5 back, but the Giants are just a game over 500. The Brewers lead the Central at 31 and 22. Now I'm saying this: the Braves are 30 and 21. The Brewers lead their division with the Cubs 4.5 back at 31 and 22. Yes, the Braves are 6 back from the Phillies, who've lost 2 in a row.
Right.
But when you compare them to other National League teams, they're still amongst the best by record National League teams. I feel like most of you would probably agree with you and I know you feel this way because we've talked about it, to hit as poorly as the Braves have, particularly in the last month, and to be in the spot that they're in is a credit to the team.
It
We
is.
really ought to be really happy and impressed with what they've done over being frustrated, knowing that they will eventually start hitting the ball at
Right.
some point. They have to start hitting
We're
at some
hoping.
point, right?
So one thing that's important to discuss here is what is the outfield going to look like? And one thing when it comes to roster management in baseball, it's very unique. And so we actually have 3 catchers on the roster.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. That's a heavy load. So there really isn't much more space for a 5th outfield guy. So as of right now, Snitker is saying Jared Kelenic will remain in left field, Mike in center field, and Duvall in right field. Quick note on Duvall. He actually won the Gold Glove for right field in 2021. That had slipped my mind, and that's something really significant, that he has a ton of experience in that position, and he has stepped into that position when Acuna went out with his other ACL.
I got a feeling we're going to have, at least on a trial basis, that outfield
Yep.
of having Duvall and Kelenic getting everyday starts now. And well, obviously with the anchor of that being Money Mike in center. I think that could work.
I think it could too. Snit did say it'll be pretty consistent in that role. And this is Duvall's 3rd stint with the Braves. Now, the biggest difference is that Jared Kelenic and Duvall have been platooning that left field spot. We'll see both of them in the lineup as well, which adds a layer of unknown, if you will. Now, the 4th outfield that they pulled up, JP Martinez, we added him for depth. A little bit about him, guys. 28-year-old rookie from Gwinnett, from Baracoa, Cuba, acquired off-season trade with Rangers, and he is going to be a guy that we need some speed from. He's going to provide that, and he can also play all 3 spots in the outfield. I love that depth he's going to provide because right now we're needing that.
Yeah. El Presidente, Reed Taylor, the Duke of Denham, made a good point before we went live here. He said, what if Kelenic, who's been great defensively, he said, what if Kelenic went – you got 80% of what he's capable of offensively.
Be
and
huge.
I'm like, we would be completely set with that. That's, if Duvall plays pretty well, you got a pretty elite outfield at that point.
It'd be incredible.
So that's a best case scenario type thing, I know, but there's some other scenarios out there that we're going to get to, including some former Braves.
For
that,
sure.
We don't know, and you can see it's such a hard thing to do when you have an injury. The timing of the injury, it's not at the very beginning like Spencer,
Right.
but you're still early enough where a lot of teams don't know where they stand. We've hit on this in previous episodes. They don't know yet if they're going to be buyers or sellers.
No.
And so it's hard to say, we could just go ahead and get this guy because this team's not good right now. Well, they may not have thrown in the towel at all. They may not consider this rebuilding, and they may still be making moves to try to get where they need to be.
And I have some information on that we'll get to, but one thing we have to talk about is that leadoff spot. Acuna is not going to be there. So what that means is there is some experience in Michael Harris. He has had 3 games in that spot, but Kelenic, he also has, I think, 20 games there. But the most consistent and most experienced is Ozzie Albies.
I really like Ozzie where he is. I would not be opposed to trying Mike Harris in that leadoff spot and having his speed there. Yeah. I think that's worth a shot. That's the direction I would take. Interested to hear what you guys think about that.
Yeah, let us know who you want in that spot. Now, Ozzie, Snit did say that he likes him against the lefty, which makes sense. And with 137 games in that spot, that's who you want kicking things off. And we actually had a question from, let me pull it up here. I write everything on paper.
Yeah.
I cannot do
such an old school
I know,
show
we really
have
are.
here. Yeah, we are old souls.
All right, let me pull this up. So Alan Hoffman emailed us, and he said, who do we think is going to be the true team leader, and can Snit coach out of the slump? And if you guys caught the end of the next round today, they were asking and kind of questioning, kind of gauging the temperature of what is Snit's likability right now in Braves country. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about that. But Alan is wondering, can Snit coach out of this slump, and who will be that leader that can come in?
Yeah, I don't think that Brian Snitker will probably ever be as appreciated as he probably should. That's just my opinion. Feel like that some of the in-game decisions haven't set well with a good portion of the fan base, and I think that's what keeps him from being as beloved as he should when you consider his success. I don't feel like – I do know there's a good portion of the fan base that's like me that loves and appreciates him.
Right.
But I think maybe some of the in-game decision-making has hurt his standing where he's not as beloved to maybe match the level of success that he's had. To your question, we talked a little bit about this last time, and I could see Travis d'Arnaud being a big part of that. I think Travis d'Arnaud, if he wants to be, will be a manager in the major leagues.
I think so too. We've both said that before, that he already acts like a manager, and I could see him just slipping into that role so easily. I would love to see him become that leader. But again, One thing that's interesting is that in 2021, when this debacle happened, basically almost to the date, one person that stepped up was Jock Peterson.
Yeah.
And we don't know. We could acquire someone that has that veteran mindset. And Scott Forrester, he's not going to like this. Apparently, we have our eyes set on veteran Tommy Pham from the White Sox. And we were discussing this before we went live here. It's very unlikely that the Braves have enough pieces to actually acquire him, but it is fun to think about. There's another option, Luis Robert. He's on the IL, though. I don't think the Braves would be that risky right now, but there needs to be some veteran leadership come through in the next couple of weeks and days.
I believe Scott Forrester's quote was, "That ain't happening."
That ain't happening.
Yeah. I tell you, a couple other guys that come to mind on the leadership to the question. Appreciate the question.
Alan Hoffman.
Ozzie Albies and Austin Riley are not, they're in their prime. They're not like, young kids anymore. They've been with the team. They're two of the most recognizable players on the team. There's a great opportunity for the two of them. Dansby's gone, Freddie's gone, Ronald's hurt. There's the two of them that are pillars of that lineup to come in and take that leadership. They're very popular players. And I would imagine very well respected amongst their teammates. So those are two good choices there as well. You could even see it from Matt Olson.
And I want to know what you guys think about this. Do you find any comfortability knowing that we've been here before?
I do. I do. And, the Braves aren't unique in the sense that, everyone's gone through this.
Right.
No matter what team. And for those of you that pull for a different team and still watch us, I can't tell you how much we appreciate your support, or if you're not even super into baseball and you watch the show, thank you very much. Appreciate that. But if you are a fan of another team, you've been through this too. It's something you go through, and guys rally and or they don't. But baseball chemistry is important in sports. It just seems to come across more in baseball than anything. I don't know if that's true or not.
I agree. I think that there's a certain essence that you have to have. But I do think that there is comfortability in Alex Anthopoulos. He was able to do this last time, and he actually already has one of the pieces that he acquired in Adam Duvall. So in this in-between, in 2021, he got Adam Duvall, Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson, and Jorge Soler. We already have Duvall. Is there a world in which we see all four of those pieces back together?
By the way, nice reception. Very happy to see that for Eddie and Truist yesterday. His return there, playing for the Washington Nationals. How much do any of those names, before we ask how likely any of those coming back, how much do any of those names do something for you?
Well, I think that is the question. So a few let's just play pretend here. Jorge Soler, to get him as an outfield booster, we could give up right-handed pitcher Garrett Bauman and outfielder Jesse Franklin. That would be a pretty fair trade there. And there's also a chance for another pitching prospect that we could pick up. And Angels, Tyler Anderson, he's a left-handed pitcher. And this is stemming from a question that we got from 365 Roll Tide. Do we have enough pieces to offer for some dealing before the trade deadline? We do and we don't. So, for example, Jock Peterson with the D-backs. Right now, there's not much we can offer to acquire him, and it depends on how their season plays out.
Yeah, I just don't feel like the Diamondbacks, who trended, they really picked it up late in the season last year. I just don't see them in a position where they're going to, this early coming into June, be trading pieces away.
I don't think so either. Now, with Jorge Soler, he is in somewhat of a rut. Now, we did see when he came to us the first time around, he was not playing his best baseball and played his best 3 months of baseball with us. So I think out of them, Jorge Soler is the most probability of that happening. I think we all would love to see Jock Peterson back, but like we said, it's just, there's too many moving parts so far. Eddie Rosario, I don't necessarily see him coming back because he is not the player that he was with us, and I don't necessarily think he is a critical piece of that group, and he's not at the top of my list. Now, do I like his experience that he's had in that position? Absolutely, and he's been in that situation before.
Well, Anthopoulos likes bringing guys back in the right circumstances. Obviously, we've seen that. We're just talking about that with Adam Duvall, Jesse Chavez multiple times. I don't see any of those three, but also they wouldn't shock me I don't know what kind of value you're getting there in those. Another one brought up, and this is the Angels as well, was with Forrester's White Sox. But Reed mentioned Kevin Pillar, who,
Yeah, that's a great point.
since he's been in Anaheim, has been playing really well for them. That could be someone that they could bring in. That may be, the move that is the best of those options there. But Anthopoulos is really good at this, and we said this last time. I'll reiterate that I trust him completely in what he's doing.
Forster says, if the Sox trade Robert to the Braves, I'm kicking the tires on the Orioles fandom again.
I like that. Yeah, there you go.
It's interesting, and I think with the Angels, what some people are saying and what I've seen on social media is the relationship that the Braves and the Angels have now with Ron Washington over there. And I'm not sure, Nick asks if there's a chance that we could get Mike Trout. I don't know. I haven't really seen much happenings about that, but I do think there is a newfound relationship that we may be able to take advantage of between Anaheim and Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. Nick saying 100% trust AA. I agree with that. Nick, Willie, I think they're going to rock with what they have. Let Duvey and Kelnick play every day for a month or so and see what happens, which is what I was saying. I think that's worth a shot, seeing how that plays out, seeing how that goes. If you're happy with that. Again, and Nick mentioned this about the Giants with Jock. The Giants aren't that. They're, like I said, they're just above 500, but they're not that far out for some of the, they would be contending at this point for a wild card spot at least. And so I just don't see these teams going. Real quick, Jake Irvin on the mound tonight for Washington against Max Fried. Max Fried's been fantastic.
He has.
Would be really cool to see another, big-time performance from him tonight.
That would be 3 in a row if we could get another complete game out of him. Not 3 in a row. Well,
no, not in a
it would
row.
be 2 in a row.
But he's that would be 3 for the season. Yes.
which I would take in a heartbeat.
For sure.
I love to see Max performing to his capabilities. What are your thoughts on what his future looks like? I have seen Braves fans, and I don't agree with this, guys, seeing how much we can get for Max Fried right now. And my qualms against that is this team isn't throwing in the towel. What's the date today? May 28th? So I don't foresee a world in where we're having to sell and rebuild, if you will.
Even if the season goes south, it's not a wholesale. I don't see that at all. I think that would be a horrible move. I would hate that. And I'm not, because of Freddie, I'm so I got so burned there.
Yeah.
Are we going to re-sign? Right. During that last season and didn't? And even celebrating a World Series, you're like, but what about Freddie?
Well, what's going to happen?
I've said this so many times. I want Max Fried re-signed during the season. I don't want Max Fried to re-enter free agency. I do believe that he's worth that type of investment. But even if they don't, no, I don't foresee the Braves doing. They don't have a bunch of holes. They don't have all these things they need to fill that you would try to be doing or try to rebuild or restart. There's not a restart with this team.
No, and that's what I think is so interesting, that I'm seeing it kind of gain traction on social media. Guys, this team has been here before, and it was a year we won the World Series. I'm not saying, it's a good thing that we've been here before. No, we all want Ronald Acuña in this lineup. We want him in the outfield. It's good for baseball.
Yes.
But it's important to remember how resilient this team is and the pieces that we have working together, along with AA and Sinker.
Right.
I like Sint in this situation. Like we said before, there's been some moves with the lineup and changes during games that leaves a guy on the mound for a little longer than we like to see. But look at the success that this club has had with Snit at the helm.
Right.
You can't take that away from him.
Right. And again, I think were they to pick someone up, I still think it's potentially starting pitcher. Let's give this guy a chance and see how he does. But that's, again, for a 5th spot. That's not for your 1, 2, 3 spot. That's for the 5th spot. So that's a big difference to me. As
a reminder, that 5th spot, we have Spencer Schwellenbach being called up for you guys that missed the first part of our live. And we also have, the rumors of the Angels' Tyler Anderson. Could be a package deal with Cade Kuehler and David McCabe from Top 15 that we have. That's from Fansided. So there are moves to be made for sure. But I think that it's silly for anyone to pack it in on this season. I don't think there's any reason for that. And the Pennant Grace panic button. There we go.
Pennant Grace.
Pennant, that is a tongue
button.
twister.
It is.
Pennant Grace panic button has not been pushed yet.
Yeah.
And if we have to push it, we will make a whole moment about it. But it's not time for that. And we said it on our emergency press conference. That was so fun. That we don't need to push it yet. We've been here before. And I would not want anyone at the helm of this club besides Brian Snicker right now.
I agree. Real quick point off subject, but friend of the show, Aaron Robbins, was at that family. They were at the game yesterday. Obviously disappointed with the results, but said the Braves did a fantastic job with the Memorial Day festivities.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and it
great
looked
to
really
hear.
cool.
That's awesome. Speaking of just social media, what I saw yesterday, Chelsea Freeman was actually at a Memorial Day tournament with Charlie, their son, and she put on Instagram that how is it possible that she's been to more baseball games now than she has since she married Freddie Freeman? I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Charlie was actually on the mound pitching.
Oh.
And I know. He had a great game, great outing, went 3 for 3 at the plate. I mean,
I'd still picture him as being like tiny.
same.
So,
and now
yeah.
they have those 2 twins that are older now.
Yeah.
Will we see a world where 3 Freemans are playing baseball in 15 years?
If it's for the Dodgers, I love Freddie. I
do
still
too.
love Freddie, but
Well, one of the twins was wearing a Braves hat in the picture that she posted
There we
yesterday,
go.
and I just absolutely love that. And I was
it's a fine
thinking
young
about
man
it,
there.
and this is kind of off topic, but I feel like and Charlie Freeman is what, 8, 9 maybe at the oldest. How often do we see a player's child who is so successful in their sport have their child love that sport to the point that Charlie Freeman does? I feel like it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
A lot of times I feel like athletes' children don't necessarily get super involved in the same sport, but I feel like we could see Charlie in the major leagues.
Yeah,
I mean,
that'd
that's
be really
an
cool.
extremely early take. The kid
Yes,
was 8,
yeah,
9
but you
years
heard
old.
it here
But
first.
you heard it here.
Yeah.
Charlie Freeman, clip this, and
Yeah.
however many years, I called it. We'll
Yeah.
see you maybe on
Could
the
he
mound.
replace Acuña in the lineup? We don't know.
We don't know. I mean, at this point, I think I would take him.
Yeah.
Robert brings up a great point. Yes, we've been here before, but Wash and Eric Young was huge for the morale of the 2021 team.
Yeah.
Oh, that keeps coming up, guys.
But it's a good point.
It is.
I don't think that can be discounted, and I don't think it's overstated. I think that
No.
is a good point to make. I really do.
No, it is something that literally since episode 1, can you believe we're already in episode 7?
I know.
Or is this episode 8?
So Megan told me today, she said whatever percent, it was some high percent of podcasts don't make it past episode 10.
Oh.
And I was like, well, hang on. Let's get to 10 before you tell me that.
I thought
let's get to 11 before you tell me that.
I thought
So,
the first thought was they don't make it past 3. I
Yeah.
think that's like the biggest weed out is
Yeah.
3 episodes. So we made it past that benchmark. Really happy
Yeah.
for that. So now we're going for 11. I
yeah.
think we'll get there.
So Willie says Max is gone in free agency, unfortunately, and they are not trading him. Just enjoy the next 4 to 5 months of him while he's still in Atlanta. The optimist in me says, no, Willie, no. But the realist in me says that's absolutely a legitimate chance of that happening, and that may be the most likely thing to happen. If I had to bet on it, I would say Max Fried enters free agency. I do think the Braves will be one of the teams that are trying to sign him.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if the Braves weren't players in that, but I do think, sadly, that he will enter free agency.
Willie, I love the profile picture. Can you see that?
Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski with the Braves hat.
I like that.
That's incredible. I
That's
used to
really
love
good.
Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
That was like one of my favorite
Yeah,
films.
really good.
Let's circle back to Acuna. I saw this on Twitter, and I'm not sure who the original finder of this statistic was, but now the conversation is switching to, is Acuna going to be a what if? It kills me.
Yeah. So, and on the next round this morning, Ryan Brown brought that up, and it's a legitimate question, and I think it's something that has to be looked at. They discussed that, and Lance Taylor said, look, to Jim and Ryan, he said, you guys say Willie Mays the greatest of all time. They're like, absolutely. He's like, I get that. He said, but had he stayed healthy, Ken Griffey Jr. would have been the greatest of all time, which I think is a legitimate point.
Argument, yeah.
And, those of us that were around and watching Griffey, we know how tremendous he was at everything. And, fact of the matter is these are 2 very major injuries for Ronald Acuña Jr. I think having the Braves win a World Series without him, and you think about it, well, you should be glad because the team won the World Series. I'm sure he is that the team wins the championship, but would that not feel weird? They won it and I wasn't a part. He just wants to play and be a part of that. So regardless of how you feel about Ronald Acuna Jr., I think everyone knows his love for the game and his love to be out there. He's someone that would probably, Brian Snitker has to pull back and say, take a day off. He wants to be out there every day. He wants to play for his country. He wants to just play baseball. And now to have it happen again, how do you come back from that? Are you ever exactly what you were? Was last season the MVP season? Do we see Ronald Acuna Jr. reach those heights again?
I don't know. That's a great question because you have to factor in age. So here's a quick stat. In 2020, it was the COVID season. In 2021, torn ACL. 2022, he was limited. But then that 2023 season, MVP in history, 2024 ACL. So if he's going by this stat line again, 2026, he's fully healthy. Could we see that return? I think by that point, he'll be almost 30, 29, 30. So that is a factor. However, as medicine continues to advance, I think that there are going to be even new forms of rehab by then, and we could see him come back healthier. I think that's something to take into account. One thing I'm curious about, and I want you guys to weigh in on this, what are your thoughts on him playing winter ball like he does? Will we see him in Venezuela in the offseason, or is he going to be in his Lamborghini cruising around Atlanta, Georgia, trying to find something to do?
Yeah, and so having it in both knees too, speed's a big part of his game. How does that affect his speed, and how does that affect his power?
Yeah.
Just a lot of questions that we don't know. We won't know until we get there. It is hard. That's a good point. I think it is hard to compare it to players if it's like several years ago because things are continually getting better in terms of how that goes.
I personally don't know if he will be playing winter ball much, and some people are saying that doesn't really affect things. I think at this point, the focus is getting as strong as you can get, building that muscle mass. And I saw an interesting kind of theory that when he comes back, will he still be in the outfield, or will we see him as a DH and in that position? I don't know. I think it would be a crime not to see Ronald out there. But it depends on what his strengths are and if this will make him have to evolve the style of baseball that he plays.
Right. I could see him eventually. Maybe it'd be hard to imagine him still at that age coming back and being a DH.
Yeah.
You just don't see him. That's really weird to see him
as
a DH.
It would be. Another theory, so me and my dad were talking about this. If you guys don't know, part of my fandom and love for the Braves comes from my parents. And I was at the beach for Memorial Day weekend. I don't know what you guys were up to. You were in Chattanooga.
Yeah, I was in Big Canoe, Georgia with the family, and then up to Chattanooga with Team Toots for the Chattanooga Chase, a great race for anybody that wants something that's a runner, wants something to do on Memorial Day. I cannot recommend the Chattanooga Chase enough. Fast Break Athletics in Chattanooga puts on a great event.
I try to be a runner, but it just does not come naturally to me. But I really commend you for.
Well, it doesn't come naturally to me, but yeah, I look at it, people are like, "What are you talking about, runner?" I'm obviously not a natural runner. That's the beauty of running. You don't have to be a natural. You don't have to be particularly good at it. You just do it.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of all of that, I was enjoying my Memorial Day on the beach, reading a book when my dad calls, and I left my phone up at the house. Like when I'm at the beach, like phone away, I am on the beach, like checked out with a good book. And I had my phone down there, or I didn't have my phone, so I didn't really see the initial injury. I'm at the ice cream shop and I'm getting calls, Acuna tore his ACL. I'm like, what is happening? So me and my dad were talking about it, and he actually has a partially torn ACL, my dad does, from his basketball playing days. And his theory is that he partially tore it in the spring or at the beginning of the season, and we haven't seen him up to his full capacity yet. Seems like he was treating his knee pretty gingerly, and he partially tore it, then tried to play through it. It was some soreness, and then this time around it fully tore, and that's why there was no pop, and it didn't feel the same because it was already on its way to doing that.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it was surprising in the sense of the leading up to it, between the injury and the announcement. Everything leading up to it is, I think we're going to be okay. I think it's going to be a short IL stint. So it's like, okay, dodged a bullet there. Hadn't put it to bed yet, but I was feeling pretty good. It did catch me a little bit by surprise. Maybe it shouldn't have, but it did.
Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking. You never want to see a player, especially Ronald Acuna, go down like that. And I, of course, don't want to speculate on injury, but it is something interesting to think about considering the type of player that Acuna is. I feel like something like this has to happen for him to sit down. And even now, he's still on the 10-day IL. They have not moved him to the 60-day IL as of 12/48, and that could have changed since we started the show.
Yeah, it's bad for baseball if a Ronald Acuna Jr., a Bryce Harper,
Ohtani.
anyone like that, Shohei Ohtani for sure, goes down, him more so than anyone, it's bad for the sport. And so I don't think that's something that anyone likes to see.
Speaking of just some updates on the roster as well as fatigue, things like that, one issue that the Braves had last season, especially going to postseason, was fatigue at the catching position. So as of yesterday, we should have seen the full opening day roster minus Spencer Strider, but we did not. However, we still did get Riley and Murphy back. So let's talk about that catching position for just a second. So Trump is very valuable. I love him. He's awesome, very valuable. And he's taken the load right now of, the season with Murphy out along with d'Arnaud. So now what's going to happen, though, is Murphy's going to come in and take the load, be game to game, and then d'Arnaud will benefit from that because it's kind of balancing out that position. And last season, we saw fatigue play a role. So now, could it be that this is a benefit and longevity of the catching position could be better come October? Hopefully we make it there. I don't know, but I thought that was interesting, kind of just looking at the moving pieces of what that position demands and how this kind of shifting an injury could actually work out in the Braves' favor. Because as last year, you guys know, d'Arnaud was suffering his 4th concussion, so Sean Murphy had to come in and be the day-to-day guy.
I love the strength of the catching position, and that's been a source of strength for the Braves for a while now. We were discussing some favorite Braves, and you mentioned Kurt Suzuki. That was an unexpected year of strength where it was just kind of bridging the gap, but did a great job there. And the Braves have been really good in that position. Now with the 3 there, you got to feel really good about that spot. The Braves have been as good really as just about anyone in that position. I don't know a catcher that maybe you would take over Sean Murphy. JT Realmuto, I love. He's just a phenomenal player. I have so much admiration, respect for his game. So obviously he would be one that comes to mind. But I'm really excited to have Sean Murphy back. I would love to see Sean Murphy get hot.
I would too. And one thing, and I mentioned this towards the beginning of the show, if you guys weren't on yet, we do have a 3rd catcher right now, which is not super common to have on a roster. And so what that's doing with the situation of the outfield, we don't really have room for a 5th outfielder right now. So there's been some discussion about going to the farm option and Forrest Wall, who's in AAA right now. But with Trump on the roster right now, there's not really fluidity for that to happen. And so, as you guys know, we have JP Martinez to provide that depth. But I'll be interested to see kind of the movement around that. And Travis asks if there's any update on the chance of acquiring Zach Eflin. I haven't seen anything. We talked about that last live. I've seen more about the Angels and Tyler Anderson right now.
Same. Thank you, Trav.
Yeah.
One thing in all this we have not talked about on the show is AJ Smith Shaw.
Oh, yeah.
So, that hurt. He
It did.
He looked so good.
So good.
We got one game.
One game.
AJ Smith-Shawver being done for the season. Is it done for the season officially, or is it?
I think so. Someone in the chat fact check us on that. Yeah. I don't want to say anything.
I may have overshot that a little bit, but I know he's going to miss, if nothing else, significant time.
Yeah.
He maybe it was something where he'll be back by the end, but I hated that because with the way he looked, I know it's one game. You can't say that in one game, but boy, he looked good.
He did. I saw a tweet that made me laugh out loud. I guess what is it called now? A post, not a tweet on X.
I'm just gonna keep saying
I'm
tweet.
just gonna call it a tweet. I'm tired of correcting myself.
Yeah.
So I saw a funny tweet, and it was not related to sports. It was like, what is the biggest conspiracy that you believe in? And someone quoted it and was like, there is a vendetta against the city of Atlanta and the sports teams with injury. And I was like, honestly, at this point, dare I say, like, this is starting to be a little odd. How many?
It feels that way, but again, I think when you pull for a team, you get in the bubble of your team, and you usually don't realize that other fan bases, are going
the Phillies too
through that as well. Yeah,
the Phillies, unfortunately, it's not plaguing them as much as it feels like it's plaguing us. Quick reminder, though, they are entering a much tougher schedule than that they faced. So we should be able to gain some ground on them. Hopefully, obviously, we have 10 games against them remaining. And we will not have Acuña in our lineup for that. I'm sure they are breathing a sigh of relief with that. However, Acuna being out hurts the game of baseball as a whole. So I would be shocked. Actually, I know there's no one necessarily celebrating this unless you're a fan that sits in your mom's basement and is a keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
But the game of baseball is hurting because everyone wants to see Ronald Acuna and how much fun he brings to the game. So just a quick update there on the Phillies and just some movement. But I think that might wrap us up for today.
All right, partner. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to ask you anything else. Willie makes the point, finally looked like someone, this is about AJ, was going to take that spot and run with it. And I loved the potential of that, where you have 4 veteran pitchers and then your young stud.
So
I
beyond.
believe he is still listed as their number 1 prospect.
Yeah.
And so that would have been cool to see, but that's just not the way it worked out.
But I do think that we are fine, and we are going to not push the Pennant Grace panic button. We are going to power through this.
Not yet.
Not yet. And I'm excited. I love doing these lives. Make sure you're following us on @ThePennantGrace. We're usually not live here on the Next Round stream, but the guys are away, so we decided to play a little bit and do this. So usually, this is also not our normal setup. If you are seeing us for the first time, we are over in Studio B. We have a great little backdrop, and we have some fun chairs, and we love to do this, and we love to provide you guys with all things Braves and overall just what's happening in the MLB. But we are a Braves-centric show. So if you're a Braves fan, this is a place to be. But if you just want to keep up with us, we appreciate that too.
Yeah, so follow us on social media @ThePennantGrace. And there's a holiday coming up.
There
and
is.
it's Father's Day. There is no better sponsor for Father's Day than the sponsor that we have.
We also, I think it's so cool that we can even give this ad read, if you will. We're only 7 episodes in, 8 episodes maybe. So Roback, we are sponsored by Roback, and we have a code for you guys. PG20 gets you 20% off at checkout. It can be an order of 5 things. It can be an order of 1 thing, but you will get 20% off if you use our code PG20. We would appreciate it. And we do not endorse anything that we do not fully believe in. And I love Roback, and you love Roback.
Absolutely. So shirts and quarter zips and pants, shorts, hats, pullovers, great stuff. It's, summer is here.
Yep.
No better way to own the summer than being representing that Roback gear. PG20 at checkout, saving you 20%. I love it.
Absolutely. And girls, they have great outfits as well for pickleball, golf, things like that. And if you are a boyfriend of a Braves fan, if your wife is a Braves fan, if your daughter's a Braves fan, we would love to have them here watching along with us. We do some fashion things every once in a while. I love fashion, if you guys don't know. So last time we rated the City Connect jerseys, and we have fun stuff like that. So please share this with them. And one more thing, though, before we go, we have to address Jim Dunaway.
Yes.
So
Jimmy D.
Kind
of the mentor of the Pennant Grace. We love Jimmy D on this show.
He texted us and said, is there going to be an emergency Pennant Grace, or should there be? And we were like, actually, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So there's been some discussion about Jimothy Dunaway.
Yes.
And his land mining skills.
Yes.
So Nick, he actually pulled up some receipts, if you will, from a show that was on March 26th. And if you guys remember, I was behind the glass screaming at Dunaway. Now, here's the thing. Dunaway did not specifically landmine Acuna. He actually landmined Chris Sale.
Yeah.
And Chris Sale, knock on wood, is healthy right now.
Yes.
So we will revoke any speculation that Dunaway landmined Ronald Acuna.
Right.
But it does feel odd, and it just hurts for the Braves to come out of his mouth in any capacity. But we do need to correct ourselves. He did not landmine Acuna. He just was discussing how awesome Chris Sale is.
Yeah, well, young, naive me thought that the landmine was a little overplayed, and then I wised up and I saw, no, the landmine is real.
Now,
it's very real.
It is. There is rumor still, and we have not found the footage, that he said the Braves were going to win the World Series. Reed Taylor also thought the same thing. I thought he said that at one point, but apparently it was the Dodgers. And I can't find the footage. If you guys have time on your hands, scour and comb through some footage and see if we can actually peg Jim Dunaway. But, Jim, we do love you.
We still love you, Jimmy.
We do.
I can't not love that guy.
I asked for a press release / statement from him, but I think he gave it on the next round. So you guys go back and watch that. We also have the meltdown coming up in about an hour. So a full day of Disrupt Media / the next rounds. So check us all out. And Uncorked, I think there's one internationally up that will either be up soon or is up right now.
Yeah, so International on Court, Meltdown at 2 o'clock Central. Make sure you're watching, like, and subscribe.
Yeah, and you can find us at Disrupt the Media channel as well as the Pennant Grace on X. That's where we go live. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back soon.